guys, what's up? This is Anthony back, and this time I want to look at the Transformers Prime Voyager class Dreadwing. Now this is actually one of my favorite characters from the show, and he's one of my favorite figures, incidentally. It's not because I like the character, it does help, but it's actually just a really solid Transformer. I think one of the reasons I like the character so much, and the figure, is because it's very reminiscent of a Beast Wars character called Depth Charge. He was a crowd favorite back then, and I think this guy probably is now too, can't say for sure, but overall it's just a great looking character, very appealing in the design, and also as a figure. He stands 7 inches tall, so it's pretty good size for a Voyager class. Nothing to complain about there. Overall, he's got great composition. The light grays mixed in with the dark blue, and then the black and yellow. Just looks good overall. Really an appealing character. And then he's got the wings on the back. Now, the transformation for the wings puts them down here, which is where they belong for the most part. But if you want to, technically, you can fold this piece back right here, and you can bring the wings up higher to put them up behind the shoulders. They're not supposed to go there, so you're going to lose the use of this port here for the gun and the sword. But you can do it if you want to, just pointing that out. Otherwise, the wings stay back there, and they're semi-posable, not a whole lot of motion going on there, but you can move them a little bit. He does have the thruster back here, which is a nice touch. Not really too much of a backpack either. It's a little kibbly, but it's still pretty solid. He comes with one of these goofy, whatever they're called, weapons. It's not so bad once it's extended completely, and it does light up. You can't tell right now because of the strong lighting. But once it's out, it just looks like a nice little cannon. Maybe you can see the lighting in there a little bit, but it is like that. And as far as I know, there's no way to lock it in place, which is a problem for me. I think if they had a locking mechanism, it'd be much more appreciated by the collector. A lot of people don't like these things because they're just so goofy looking when they're in this mode, for sure. But if you could lock it out, I think it would be okay because it's a decent looking gun for him. If you see it fits in his hand nicely in the peg. And if you give him just a big cannon, that's way better than whatever that's supposed to be. So that's the one accessory. It does plug into his back if you want to, in that yellow port right there. He also comes with his sword, which is kind of an iconic weapon for the character. Pretty cool. It's sculpted well, no paint on it at all. It's just solid gray plastic, but it's still pretty decent, and it has the peg on there. You can hold it obviously by the handle, but it has the peg on there so you can stash it up here on his back, which is a pretty nice aesthetic. I don't mind that at all. I think it's pretty cool that he can put his sword on his back. So there's that. As a figure though, let's talk about the articulation. The head is really stiff. It does have motion, but it's super stiff. Now it might just be this one, might be all of them, I don't know. It's also something to note, all of his face, the whole front half of his head is the softer material. So be careful, you don't want to rip anything off. But the head does have the swivel in it, and it can look up and down. Well, it's very limited, and it's very stiff, so I'm not going to mess around with it anymore. But the head does have a little bit of up and down motion. Now the shoulder pads are kind of posable because they're on that riveted hinge, so they move like that, and then they also are on a ball joint, ball hinge right there. So you can move them around a little bit to give yourself a little extra posability there. Now the arms, here's the problem with the shoulders. There's no snapping mechanism to hold them up in place where they belong up there. So when you're posing them, you're going to get that a lot. You're going to get the arm to kind of dislocate, which isn't the best, but it's something I can overlook on a figure in this scale because it's only a $20 figure. But you do have the ball jointed shoulder socket, so full range of motion there, a bicep swivel, elbow joint, single jointed elbow, but full range of motion, and it has the yellow elbow thing in there, which just looks really cool, I think. I don't know why, but I think this guy just turned out really nice. He's got the fully sculpted forearms as well. There's no big hollow crevices or cavities in there, so I like that. And then he's got the sculpted hands, but he's got decent size, and they're not completely junky like some of the other figures, and a wrist rotation. So overall, it's just put together really well. The only real problem I have is that shoulder. There's no waist articulation, unfortunately. Hips are standard ball jointed hips, so full range of motion. There is a thigh swivel built in. Somewhat limited, but you don't need a whole lot, I don't think, anyway. knee joint, single jointed knee, but you get full 90 degrees, so that's okay by me. He's got these cool knee pads. They're soft, so you don't have to worry about breaking them off. And his legs are pretty much fully sculpted. The feet, the back of the shins are semi-hollow back here, but it's not terrible looking, I don't think. I think it's something you can probably live with. I know I can. And there's no articulation in the feet though, so that is kind of problematic. It's going to be hard to get him into some decent poses. You really can't do much with the feet, unfortunately. You can bring them back a little bit as part of the transformation, but that's about it. So I mean, he's not an amazing figure, but he's definitely a solid figure with only a couple minor flaws, and I am okay with that. I think it's really nice looking overall. So that's his robot mode. Let me get him transformed and I'll put him into vehicle mode and we'll talk about that. Okay, well, he's in vehicle mode and I can't say I'm as happy with the vehicle mode as I was with robot mode. It's not horrible. From the top it looks okay. I mean, it pretty much has the right shape and everything. It's got these nice Decepticon emblems on there, and overall it looks alright. Couple problems though. One, the hands stick out and they're fairly obvious. No matter how you rotate them, it still doesn't look very good. Another problem is that these things are super soft, so they are going to get warped out of shape pretty easily, which is fixable, but still you shouldn't really have to do that, and I don't think it would have been a problem to make them a harder plastic. Next problem is the bottom is really, really kibble. This front piece right here just looks horrible. This part's not terrible from the side back here. From the back it's pretty bad, and from the bottom it's equally bad. So there's a lot of problem there. It does have these wheels built in, but there's no actual wheel. It's just one solid hunk of plastic. He has landing gear up here also, but there's no wheel. Again, it's just one solid hunk of plastic. And you can fold that away if you want to, but you can't fold these away, so it's just not the best design overall. He does have a hole up here for the weapons, and also one under each wing, so you can put the sword over here if you want to. Personally, I think that looks pretty silly, but you can put the gun up at the top if you want to, and it looks okay, I guess, if you're going to use these, but personally I wouldn't do it, especially like that. It looks stupid. And under the wing, I guess it's okay again as the gun, because it just looks like a big gun or a missile launcher, but it still looks pretty junky. So vehicle mode's definitely a no, robot mode's definitely a yes. So I do recommend you get it, but keep it in robot mode. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for some more videos and some other reviews and other stuff, yada yada yada. In the meantime, keep collecting.